What's up, YouTube? It's been a while. It's also been a long day, so hopefully you guys will bear with me because I have a lot to talk about, and I probably don't have nearly as much time to talk about it. You've already heard my talks on my disgust about the cosplay community being against what they dub to be sexy cosplay, or ero, as in erotic, short for erotic, ero cosplay, and how people feel that there's no place for it and will slut shame anybody who dares to show off a little too much skin. Because as I've talked about, one person's slightly racy is another person's definition of pornography, and it's stupid, because then they become this voice in the community amongst others and try to get these people to just go away, rather than trying to think to themselves, well, gee, why do I feel that slut shaming or other kinds of shaming are necessary in this process? Are these people technically exposing themselves to minors? No, they've got a mature filter on their pictures, things of this nature here. They're not exactly peddling them to certain forums where some of this stuff gets discovered, and I'm sure it gets discovered simply because there are forums set up, not unlike the extortionist site known as possibleprostitutes.com, which is, last I'd known, it was still operational, which is trying to use morality to skirt around the fact that they're basically extorting money from people. Basically, they could put up anybody's picture on that website, and then that person has to then verify that they are not a prostitute, and then has to pay to get off that site. And what bothers me even more than them asking for money for this is the fact that there's no guarantee that they're just going to take your picture down. What's to stop them? What, you're going to go to the cops and they're going to ask questions? Questions maybe you're not comfortable with answering? You see where sex negativity gives criminals a place to hide, a place for them to do whatever they want to perfectly non-sexual citizens, and then extort money because, oh no, I don't want to be found out, or I don't want rumors circulating that I'm a prostitute because that can actually ruin my life. CPS could come into the life of, person X, who happens to be, let's say, a single mom. Let's say she's the jilted, she's the ex that jilted somebody, and so that somebody then, out of anger and vengeance, puts their face onto that website. And this lady has to go through this utterly humiliating process to prove that she's not a prostitute, and then has to pay them to have her profile taken off the site. But no, it's done for moral reasons. Yeah, sure, I believe that. But another section of things has come about, and while I'm not blaming the artists involved in this, I'm blaming the society that's built around it. This is the other war that I'm fighting, the war on marijuana at the very least, as well as a bit on the war on drugs, since it's failed. We keep saying it's failed, and yet the people who are actually in charge of the war just plug their ears. La la la, I can't hear you. Meanwhile, people are losing work, not because of poor performances, although some people do get too mellowed out to work. I'm not going to sit here and act as if pot can't have that kind of effect on somebody, but if it's between a drug that mellows you out versus a drug that gets you so hyped up and has you hallucinating that you might kill somebody because you think that they're a demon sent there to destroy you, only to find out that it's your wife, your best friend, what have you, I think I'd rather have the mellow out drug be one that's out there. Cosplaying comedian says no to marijuana. Now, I'm not going to necessarily read this whole article, partly because I kind of wasted some of my time to a degree. But it's this little excerpt in the article The drug is very much stigmatized in the country. How is this? Now follow me, if you will. Japan happens to be probably one of the most progressive societies, in my opinion, in the world. They're openly sexual. They have obscenely low amounts of sexual assaults, and I'm sure that the antis will have their answer for that. And at this point, I don't care. You can scream that culture, culture, culture all you want, but what does honor mean to a rapist? What does honor mean to somebody who is mentally disturbed? Stop acting like somehow honor trumps everything in their country. Therefore, that's why they can be openly sexual and not have as much sexual assault as us more prudish countries out there. But how is it you can be so openly sexual, but yet pot is stigmatized in your country? I'm having another one of those aneurysms, folks. It's one of those aneurysms where, in, say, Germany, violent video games are banned for the kiddos, games that I might add have no discernible effect on a person's psyche or a person's propensity to harm somebody without emotion, which will be a very, very running theme throughout most of tonight. But their drinking age is at 13, so violent video games, no. But alcohol, which in some people can cause somebody to become a little more violent, a little more passionate, can impair their skills and driving, and can sometimes lead to fights and all sorts of things. Something that, in other words, that has a known effect is perfectly legal for the kiddos over there in Germany, but not the violent video games. How does that make any sense? But there you go. We've got really screwed up backwards law areas in other places that try to pretend as if they're always better than us. And sometimes they're right, other times you get this. Because see, here's the problem. Again, the drug is, let me get to that excerpt, sorry. The drug is very much stigmatized in the country, and if Japanese celebrities are caught with pot, it can end their career. Why? Why? Yes, I've seen Reefer Madness, and no, it is not scientifically accurate. Why is something that is and has been so harmless, barring some of the things that private people are doing to their plants, which in certain places are unfortunately making weed into an addictive plant or an addictive substance at a time when in general it on its own is not addictive, which is underhanded and undermines, or at least underlines, I should say, the reasons why legalizing, destigmatizing, and stopping throwing people in jail for something so innocuous is important. Because when you don't have regulation, when you don't have control over it, when you don't have regulatory bodies checking this stuff out, then people can do whatever they want. And they can make something that is normally innocuous, something that is hard for somebody to resist. In fact, I have an artist friend who lives up in Canada who quit for that reason. She started finding out that they were lacing her stuff, and she just quit cold turkey because she didn't like what it was doing to her in her region. Yet when she was down here, things were pretty okay. She could handle her weed. She was fine. She is not an addict normally. And that's something that definitely needs to be addressed more than, oh my God, they're doing drugs and drugs are bad, okay? Winners don't use drugs. But see, this isn't that much different than here, where actually you will lose your job if you get caught. I had a friend up in South Dakota, single mom. She wasn't even caught with pot. She was caught with a pipe in a raid that was set up by one of the participants' ex-girlfriends. Oh joy, oh joy. And the local police always put the arrests in the local paper. Well, they found out that she was arrested and what she was arrested for, and rather than any kind of appeal or anything, never mind that she wasn't smoking, at least in that time, she was out of there. And she had a hard time finding a job, and she had dependents, two of them. This was disgusting, to say the least, and completely unnecessary. Oh, we don't want single moms on the system, but if they ever dare smoke pot, we're going to force them to be on the very system that we decry is dragging America down. Does any of this make sense? Is this really a system worth fighting for? Is this, at least in terms of pot, I'm not talking about hardcore drugs in this case, how is this working? And world, you too, Japan and other places where you make this into such a big thing, this is completely unnecessary. I mean, granted, this cosplayer, comedian, whatever she is, professional lady of dress, she almost has no choice. You either speak out against it when the campaigns roll around, or maybe you're secretly into it. And even if they can't find anything on you, the moral majority can find a way. The moral majority being an oxymoron and untrue. They're usually typically not the majority, nor are they moral, but they like to think that they are. And unfortunately, in a lot of today's society, they hold a lot of power that is based off of nothing.